LiberalViewer presents.
So over on NBC's Meet the Press, Chuck Todd had James Baker, who used to be Secretary of State for George H.W. Bush, before he did the Operation Desert Storm that took Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait, and then decided not to go on and depose Saddam Hussein. He talks about how he advised George H.W. Bush not to depose Saddam Hussein because he didn't want the chaos that you see happen after George W. Bush went into Iraq. But then he tries to still blame the current chaos on President Barack Obama, and I don't think it really works. And I'll talk about that a little more after I show you this here.
This right now. I know you've been asked this before. The Bush 41 administration chose not to take out Saddam Hussein. Right. Do you believe if you had, that basically the 90s would look like what we're dealing with today?
Well, we were afraid of that. That's why we didn't, for 2 years after we left office. Why didn't you guys take care of Saddam when you had the chance? Every time I'd go out and give a speech or something, I'd get the question. Well, now people see why we didn't. Because we were worried about this very thing happening, that there would be ethnic divisions and that the country would split apart.
And this is exactly what I'm. So Vice President, so I take it you don't agree with Vice President Cheney, who said this week again, if he had to do it over again, he'd do the Iraq War again.
Well, I don't agree with this. I don't agree that because they did the Iraq War is why we're where we are. I think you can make the same argument about Obama's failure to arm the Syrian opposition
earlier,
or not leaving a residual force in Iraq. You can argue all those things about the past. The problem is we have a huge issue here. What do we do about it going forward? There's no country in the world that could pull together the kind of conference or negotiation I'm talking about, except the United States of America. And we need to do that. Whether we can still do that or not, I don't know. When we put our coalition together, we had 500,000 U.S. troops on the ground. We had a specific goal within a limited time frame, kick Iraq out of Kuwait. And America was respected by its allies and feared by its enemies. We're not there anymore.
And oh, by the
way. So yeah, that was kind of a final dig at Obama there, I think, at the end, about how we're not respected by our allies or feared by our enemies anymore, which I'm not sure that's actually true. And then that whole argument that George H.W. Bush didn't depose Saddam because he knew this chaos would ensue, but the chaos that ensued is actually President Obama's fault. I don't really buy that. But I want to know what you think. Does James Baker's argument that deposing Saddam in Desert Storm would have caused chaos contradict his argument that Barack Obama is responsible for the current chaos instead of George W. Bush? And whether those arguments contradict each other, is George W. Bush responsible for the current chaos in the Middle East?
YouTube, you decide.